Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's webinar. My name is Jay Berkowitz, and we've got two rock star guests with us today, John McCarthy and Richard James. Much more about them in a minute. Our topic this month is profitability or profitability, how to scale and manage your law firm. We're going to give you some awesome strategies, tools, and tactics to get that done. My presentation will come first, and I'm going to talk about 5 pillars for scale and profitability, followed by John McCarthy, I love his title, Profit Coach. I mean, he doesn't need any more introduction. If he's the profit coach, I love it. And he's going to talk about the 5 levels of business ownership. And in particular, he's got an awesome case study where one of his clients was working 80-hour weeks and having trouble making payroll. And his business now runs on autopilot. He spent 3 months in New Zealand last year, and the business ran itself with $1.3 million of profitability. John, I hope I didn't just steal your punchline there. But that's what I want you to teach us all how to do. And Richard's a rock star with teaching law firms basically what he calls the perfect client life cycle. And this quote, again, sums it all up. Systems should run your law firm. People should run your systems. And if we can all figure that out for our businesses, and my business is a professional services business. So, everything we're going to do today is we're going to use the reference point of law firms, but for the most part, this is appropriate for any professional services business, or frankly, any business. These are the fundamental principles of how to run your business with sanity for the owner and partners, and profitability on the bottom line. So a little bit about me. I come from one of the coldest places on earth, Winnipeg, Canada. Still pretty cold. Everyone there is still pretty unhappy. Home of the Winnipeg Jets hockey team and the champions of the Canadian Football League 3 years running. They only won 2 championships, but they skipped a year because of COVID. We got smart and moved to beautiful Boca Raton, Florida. There's my wife, Bonnie, and our little guy, Parker, who will probably bark in at some point. I started my career, I was able to work on some of the most famous marketing brands in the world. I was doing Coca-Cola marketing and TV commercials and TV buys. And I worked at Sprint in the very early days of technology, getting people their first emails, their first businesses, their first websites. I also worked for McDonald's restaurants and sold some of the most delicious and high-fat foods, and I gained a few pounds. And then I joined ediets.com. And this was an amazing story. This was a startup that we grew to $60 million in revenue. And during that time, I wrote the core principles of what became the 10 golden rules of online marketing. And when I spoke at a conference called the Direct Marketing Association, 5 different people came running up and said they needed to hire me as a consultant. And 10 golden rules, the digital agency was born out of 10 golden rules, the presentation, which became a book and a blog and a podcast. My 5th book will be called Advanced Internet Marketing for Law Firms. More on that in a minute. And we worked with some awesome law firms all around the country, big networks like Law Tigers, which is the motorcycle accident attorney. We're doing some really cool stuff with this network of mesothelioma sites, one of the toughest and most expensive categories there is. Some great local PI guys. Jeff McDonald's awesome. These guys are very experienced business litigators, Conrad and Scheer. John Pankowski is a trust and estate litigator. So we do a lot of PI and a lot of other legal stuff. I developed the Millie Awards, which is one of the most famous awards for the best internet marketing law firm. And what we're most proud of is when we achieve a hockey stick for our clients. I'm obviously from Winnipeg, and this is the shape of a hockey stick, but in business, a hockey stick is when we drive web traffic and leads. So this is calls, forums, chats, and cases correspond with that. So without further ado, let's get into profitability, how to scale and manage your law firm. And the first pillar of my presentation is law firms have to run themselves like a professional business. And there's other ways of saying this, but in my experience, if your place doesn't run properly, you're just not going to convert the cases, and you're not going to get the referrals, and you're not going to get the cases. So in the good old days, you could run, grab the biggest full page ad or the back of the yellow pages, going back 30 years, 20 years, you could buy your way to success. And there was like the good old boys network, but the game's changed because everything's on show now. And regardless of your type of practice areas, everybody, like 70 or 80% of people are going to Google you, even if you're a referral. And in particular, these new local service ads, the Google screen right at the top of the page, the algorithm's being driven by your Google reviews. So you see all these guys have lots of Google reviews, but you can also get 1 to 2 new reviews per week and get a piece of the top 2 or top 3. There's only 2 in a cell phone, and there's 3 right at the top. Of course, Google Maps has always been driven by the number of reviews and the quality of your reviews. And SEO is also influenced by your Google reviews. So if your place doesn't run properly, if you're getting poor results for clients, or you're just a pain in the butt to deal with, it's going to dramatically affect your ability to generate clients. It's going to affect your marketing, the search marketing directly, but it's also going to affect those quality checks. When someone says like, hey, you got to call such and such attorney, and somebody does a quality check, someone in the family does a Google review, and you've got a 3.4, you're just not going to get as much business as if you've got a 4.7 or 4.8. And I want to tell a quick story. One of our clients, longtime client, was going through a really, really tough time. One of the employees was having addiction issues, and it was a really tough time for the firm. All the partners were always running around cleaning up messes, and the firm was just from the outside looking in, compared to our other clients, well, I would say they're in complete disarray. They couldn't answer the phones well because they were the intake people were always turning over, and they were always getting coaching from different partners, including the one partner who's going through a tough time. And then they cleaned up their act. The one partner was asked to leave, and very quickly, they were at 3.4 stars, and they only had about 7 Google reviews. So the one partner was asked to leave, and all of a sudden the firm started to run like a professional operation. It only took about 6 months before the mood in the place was dramatically improved. Operations was better. They handled cases better. They handled intake better. They had professional tracking, and they got back to us with approvals, and every other aspect of their business started running properly. And I think today the firm has over 300 Google reviews, and they're like a 4.6 stars. And that's just representative of getting their act together, running themselves like a professional business. Now, if you don't feel you're where you need to be, one of the great places to start is EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And we've been working with EOS for a couple of years now, and it's basically a phenomenal template to run your business. The book Traction is very technical, and it's for what EOS calls the implementer. And the book Get a Grip is for the entrepreneur, the visionary. And great firms have an entrepreneur and an implementer, a visionary and an implementer. But Get a Grip explains it from the visionary standpoint. So if you're kind of the founder and the ideas person and always coming up with great ways to build the firm, and you're the networker, you should read Get a Grip. And if you're the implementer, if you're the person who gets things done while the other person's out running around getting deals, then you should read Traction. But that's one way. The other way is to listen to the 2 guys who are going to follow me on this webinar. If you're watching the recording in the future, both of these guys are professional consultants, professional business coaches who can help you improve, manage, and get your SHIT together. The second pillar of scale and profitability is having a strategic plan for your business, having an agreed upon focus among the partners and all the employees, and getting buy-in from the employees. And this has been proven with our firm over and over and over again. And we also do a strategic planning process with our clients, and it's been awesomely successful with everybody who's done it. First, another quick story. I mentioned I came to Florida to work at ediets.com. And eDiets was founded by an inventor, a gentleman who actually has his name on over 100 patents. And he founded this incredible idea that you could go on the internet. This is back in 2002, the very early days of the internet. You could go on the internet and put in your height, your weight, your age, any medical conditions, and eDiets would spit out a customized diet for you that you could follow online with shopping lists for your meals, recipes, meetings with experts. I mean, it was really, really awesome, way ahead of its time, and a great invention. But the challenge was every single day, this guy would invent more really cool things. Hey, let's do e-fitness. Hey, let's do this diet. Let's do that diet. Let's do the grapefruit diet. And everybody in the company was always going in different directions because the founder had given everybody a different priority. It was a very, very hard place to get things done. And we weren't making nearly as much progress as we could have made if we were more focused. So I gathered all my fellow VPs and directors together, the IT guy and the biz dev guy and the sales guy and the head of creative. And we all added up all the different tasks that the founder had given us. We literally came up with 107 different projects that he wanted us to do with the same level of priority. And then we created a top 10 list. And we pulled Dave, the founder, in, and we said, Dave, is it okay if we just focus on the top 3 priorities? He gave us like a couple months to try it out, which meant we had like 2 weeks. But very quickly, with everybody focused on the number 1 priority, we got buy-in and we delivered the Atkins diet to market. It was phenomenally successful and doubled our business. Then we very quickly delivered e-fitness, which was a fitness counterpart to the diet website. And then we delivered the Zone diet with Dr. Barry Sears. The business catapulted. Everyone loved working there now because we had a focus, we had our priorities, we had a plan, and we had buy-in. And there's the launches that I talked about. So with my company, we've used this other great book that I love called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish. And we've used a couple elements from that, but the most important thing is, as a company, every quarter we do a brainstorming. And we identify our top 5 projects that are going to move our company forward against our business objectives. And we pick the top 1 priority that no matter what, in the next quarter, we got to get that done. And everybody gets their own top 5 in addition to the company top 5. I love this expression, what you focus on and measure improves. So if we focus on this as a company, and every week we go through the top 5 rocks, and every quarter we achieve our objectives. So a recent quarter, we had 5 objectives that we all agreed to, we all voted on, and we agreed on the priorities. The top 1 of 5, no matter what, we had to hire a social media manager. We'd been using part-time people and people doing it part-time as a part of their job, but we hired a real rock star in that quarter. We wanted to focus our website. We wanted to develop roles and responsibilities documents. So that was set out as our agreed upon goals at the top of the quarter. We hired Diamond. She's been awesome, and she came on as our social media manager. The second priority was to do a new website, and that's in development. We've got copy, we've got design now. We're building the actual website, and we wanted to reposition the company as not just a digital agency, but also a strategic company. And so that'll be represented by my 6th book and by these webinars that are now going to cover the other things that we work on, because we don't just do digital, we help with scale and profitability, as demonstrated by this webinar. So we also do these brainstormings for clients. We help them do a brainstorming and select their top 5 projects, or sometimes we do it annually, so the top 10 projects of the year, and the top 1 of 10 that's got to get done no matter what. We review their current objectives and priorities. We do a deep dive analysis on all the key numbers, because obviously you have to know what you can measure if you're going to be able to improve it. We do a brainstorming on the strengths, weaknesses, and trends, and then we do a brainstorming on projects. And then we move forward with prioritizing the top 5 or top 10. And it's been incredibly successful. The first company that did this was able to move from 200 or 300 visitors a month to over 12,000 website visitors a month, and from 12 leads a month to over 581 leads a month. And that was just getting all the ducks in a row, doing everything right, getting the firm bought in, getting the partners bought in, getting all the employees, the company bought in, and doing the right things on the marketing side. The third pillar of success is called what gets measured, gets attention, and improves. I touched on that a little bit earlier. But you've got to know what you're trying to achieve. You've got to set precise, smart goals. Smart goals are, measurable goals that are attainable and precise, so you know what you're doing. And I think I did some research to try and figure out who invented this phrase, but I think it's developed over time. William Thomson, known as Lord Kelvin, who the Kelvin measure was named after, in 1891 said, measure what you're speaking about and express it in numbers, and essentially sort of conceived that or put it in writing for the first time. But the key numbers are critical to your business. And we present a chart like this to every single one of our clients. How many users are on the website? We look at year-over-year traffic, month-over-month traffic. We're going to have a great meeting with this client because this is actual March numbers for 2022. And if you're watching this in 2023, it'll be even better. Their phone calls are up, their form fills are up, their chats are up. And this is total users and this is total goal completions. Not every chart looks this great, but this is headed in the direction of a hockey stick. And some of our clients pay attention to these numbers and they get it. And some of our clients tune out when we present the numbers. And you can guess which are the firms that are going up and which are the firms that are going in the wrong direction. This is the paid traffic, and these guys are getting leads at $99. So if you can convert 1 in 5, 1 in 6, you're getting cases for under $1,500. And then this is the Google Maps with the different maps locations. There's much more data that we present, but obviously having these key numbers in a dashboard that you can log into at a moment's notice and find out how you're performing is measuring what matters. And when you measure it, it gets attention and it improves. We measure the conversion of calls. We measure the conversion of chats. We measure how many web forms come in and how many are converted. Typically, you want lots of calls because the calls convert at 24%. The forms only convert at around 4 or 5%. But when we have this level of attention to detail, we can improve things because we know what's working, what's not working, what needs work, what needs attention, what needs improvement. So we've got our shit together. We've got our plan. We're able to measure if we're making success towards our goals. And now you want to master your marketing. Now, we've done about 24 of these webinars. You can see the past ones on YouTube where we've gone into detail on pay-per-click and SEO and the Google local service ads and how to get in the top 3. But just to sum up marketing, this is a whole other presentation called the Internet Marketing Model. And essentially, we in the industry, we have a thing we call the funnel, where you're funneling all the traffic into a website or a landing page and trying to convert those folks into leads, into calls, into form fills, into chats, and or remarketing to them. So that's what the funnel is talking about. And we're going to obviously use Google, Yahoo, Bing, search engine optimization. This is representative of the new local service ads. This is a great new program we've come up with called the VIP Club, which is able to generate reviews every single week, which is key to that SEO local service ad and map algorithm. Avo and the other industry websites you can get citations and links from, and things like email, an e-newsletter, critical part of your marketing program. It's a foundational part. Everybody has to have a digital e-newsletter as a part of their marketing. And of course, the social media, YouTube, video, super important. And everything's going to channel to a website. And even more importantly today, 60 or 70% of your traffic is probably going to the mobile phone. So the mobile phone has become critical in Google's algorithm and critical how your website performs in mobile as to how your overall marketing program is going to perform. This is representative of testing and landing pages, other sites linking to your site, and then the back end of marketing, your e-newsletter, your remarketing program, and your follow-on email program. So getting all the component parts of that right, or getting 80% of it half right, is going to really move you forward in terms of the quality and quantity of your leads and the number of cases coming into your firm. And the final piece I wanted to touch on is rainmaking. And we did, we're doing a new webinar that'll be April 2022, if you're looking at this sometime in the future, on rainmaking. And we're going to talk about how you can generate more business through networking, and more importantly, how you can train the young affiliates, the young associates, the young attorneys, the young folks in your firm to get out there and start building their own book of business. Because we're starting to hear this again and again and again and again. The senior people are bringing in 80 or 90% of the business. The young people just don't know how to do it. So this will train your young associates on how to do professional networking. So, straightforward, we're going to talk about, and I'll touch on it today, how to get out there and join the Chamber of Commerce. BNI is the Business Networking International. If you can get in a BNI for your chapter, you're going to build a team of 30 or 40 other professionals who are going to send you leads. It's an awesome way for a young person to build their book of business. And as attorneys, or whatever industry you're in, you should participate in your industry association. So get involved in the bar association, get on one of the committees, speak at one of their events, build your personal brand, build your professional network. Now, a client of mine recently used this term. He said it's really important when you go to networking to give to and get to. And what he said is it's important to give 2 business cards to people that you can help, and get 2 business cards from people that you're going to follow up with and have a follow-on meeting. So that I added the give to, get to, and meet to, because I learned very early on in my career, don't just go to the networking event and hand out as many business cards as you can. Don't be that annoying guy who's just trying to talk to everybody and hustle everybody up for business. The way to succeed in networking is to meet people who you can develop a professional business relationship with. If you're an attorney, maybe you can develop a relationship with an accountant who is another business professional who could refer business to you, and you can refer business to him, just as one example. And then you want to get together with that person and have a follow-on one-on-one meeting. That's a term that comes from BNI. And you want to get to know those folks and really get to know, like, and trust them. So it starts with a coffee, but one-on-ones is a verb. It's not a noun. You shouldn't just meet them once. If you like them and you enjoy them, maybe then you invite their significant other, and you go with your significant other to a dinner, and maybe you go to a sports event or a cultural event, and you really build a relationship that's going to be a multi-year relationship. And that's where the business networking really takes off. And just one other tip on that, I've started keeping a digital database. And so everybody I meet with, I keep a few notes. My friend Jeff Michelle taught me to always seek someone's passion, learn what they're passionate about, and record that as well. And then if I meet someone who's like, they're into pickleball, and then I hear something really incredible, which I did this week. A young woman won a pickleball championship just 6 months after picking up her paddle. I can send that to all my friends who are into pickleball. So putting this in a Google, it's just a Google Sheets I keep on my computer, and I learn about, what are good referrals for them? What are some of the keywords they mentioned in our conversation? And what are their passion? And then who have I introduced them to, so I can make sure that they made that connection. So to wrap up my section of profitability, how to scale and manage your law firm, the first thing is you've got to run your firm like a business. You've got to run it like a professional operation. You can't hide behind expensive yellow pages of ads and TV and billboards, because you just can't hide from those Google reviews and the Yelp reviews and the online lawyer reviews. Your business has to run properly. Your employees have to buy into your plan. You've got to have a plan. And then you want to have quantitative goals that you're going to measure your success, and what you measure improves and expands. Marketing mastery is getting your marketing funnel right, getting your mobile phone right. Is your mobile website even more important than your website? And then having that back end remarketing program. And finally, learn to be a professional rainmaker. And if you're bringing in 80 or 90% of your firm's business, make sure your young associates come to the webinar next month to learn how to build their business through building these know, like, and trust relationships with other referring professionals. So with that, I'm going to wrap up and introduce John. And We'll take questions at the end, so please write down really good, tough, probing questions, because sometimes that's where we get some of the best content. So I met John McCarthy through a professional network that I attend called the Legal Resource Network. And they are New York based, but during COVID, they went online. And so now it's pretty much digitally based every Wednesday night. Happy to make an introduction if you're interested to that. And John's actually based in England. And I love his title. He's the Profit Coach. You can't beat that, right? And he actually worked in the British military and was a trainer in the military. And so he said, you never leave a man behind. And that's a philosophy that obviously they had in the military, but also has been a part of his professional sports training and fitness training, and a part of his business practice. He's going to talk to us today about the 5 levels of business ownership. And I touched on the case study where he brought someone from an absolutely insane life to $1.3 million of pure profit and 3 months off in New Zealand. He has a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old and loves surfing. And with that, we're going to fumble around and change over to John's computer. John, test your audio, and you're going to present your slides, right?
That's great. Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay, Jay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Fantastic. I'll switch to share screen. We can get it all working. Okay, can we all see the screen at your end?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fantastic. Great. So first of all, thank you so much, Jay, for inviting me along. Great to be here with yourself and Richard. Yeah, and I got to say that was a great presentation. There's so much in there, and I was smiling so much because it relates so much to my presentation now. So that's a really cool thing. I'm not going to introduce myself very much because I normally take an hour to do this presentation, and we've got 15 minutes. So I'm going to talk fast. So if you can listen quickly, that's probably going to really help. So yes, the title of my talk now is how a law firm partner, a client of mine, made an extra 1.3 million US dollars net profit and was able to work 40 hours less per week. Well, when I first met Stephen, he was literally working 80 hours a week and then making 0 net profit. He was exhausted. He couldn't take a holiday without constant emails and phone calls, and he was stuck on that hamster wheel of a busy business. But now, only 4 years later, last year hit 1.3 million net profit, but it's growing every year, 50% year on year. And I said in the title there that he reduced his hours by 40 hours a week. Actually, he doesn't have to work at all anymore. He travels 9 months a year, has a phenomenal lifestyle. He gives a lot to his local community and his charity. He set up a charity at the start of the pandemic to start delivering pharmaceuticals and medicines to people because we live in quite a rural area. So he set up a national charity to get volunteers to take medicines out to people. So, and the thing is about when a business can give you a fantastic lifestyle, if you run it properly, if you get your SH1T together. And he had the time and the money and the imagination to set up the charity and get this thing working all over the UK to help deliver medicines to needy people, which is a great thing to do. So I say he lives the millionaire lifestyle. And whilst he's not a millionaire financially at the moment, because I can't talk about it, but he will be very soon, he has the money and the time to do what he wants because he's not restricted by a business. And that, to me and Stephen, is what a great lifestyle is actually going to be all about. I'm going to ask you a quick question, really. How profitable is your business? Thinking back over the last 3 months or a year, how would you rate yourself on 1 to 5? So 1 is just don't ask for the profit. 5 would be 100% ideal, awesome. And obviously needs work, okay, and really good could be 2, 3, and 4. So either put it in the chat or write down the pad that's in front of you. Honestly, where would you put yourself now in terms of the profit? But it's important that you think about the profit that you want to make, not what other people think you should be making. And the next thing is how much fun is your business? So do you work the hours that you want to work? Do you do the work that you want to work? How much do you enjoy it? Do you like your team? Do you like your customers? And so business should be fun. We spend most of our living lives tend to be working and involved in our business for many, many years. So it should be fun. That's my philosophy. So how would you rate yourself in fun in your business? Again, 1 to 5, you can stick it in your chat or entirely up to you. But it's important that we understand these 2 metrics. It's about measuring them, just as Jay said a moment ago. So what I'm going to cover on this workshop, I'm going to go through the 5 levels of business ownership, and I'm going to go through the 3 key business pillars, and then the 9-step roadmap. Unfortunately, what I'm not going to be able to go through, because we don't have time, is the power planner, which is how you can get more done in less time. How you can be phenomenally efficient and effective with your time, because it's our most valuable resource. When it's gone, you can't get it back. I'm not going to get time to go through the profit maximizer. We just start focusing on profit first, not necessarily turnover. Turnover is vanity, profit is sanity. It's the fastest way we can improve your net profit, and just exactly what Stephen Ward did. And also what I can't do is go through the business map, MAP as we call it, which is about how to engage and recruit fantastic people in your business. So here's the thing, I've been doing this for years. Yes, your business is unique. You know, just as if all of us are unique, special snowflakes as individual people, but just as we are unique as a person, every human is unique on the surface, but we're very similar underneath as well. So businesses are more similar than they are different, because business is business at the end of the day. So all the good things that Jay spoke about, and I'm sure Richard will cover as well, and I'm going to cover, they can be related to any business at all out there, because business is business. So the thing is, from experience, I found that most business owners struggle because of implementation. It's not they don't know what to do, it's just actually getting it done, getting that SH1T done, as like Jay was alluding to. So the first thing here is I'm going to go through the 5 levels of being a business owner. And the first, what I want you to think about is think about where you might sit on this spectrum. I'm going to go over them briefly now, but I'm going to go through them in a bit more detail in a few moments, and you can start to score yourself. So level 1 is overwhelm. This is generally in the early stages of a business. There's just far too much to get done. We don't know where to focus, and we're running around firefighting. And level 2 is about being overworked. And this is where a lot of owners feel that they're stuck. It's where Stephen Ward definitely was. They're working too many hours and just not able to get off this treadmill of trying to run a business. Level 3, which is the organized section, this is the absolutely critical part of a business when it can start to run properly, but very few owners actually really achieve this. So now, for many of you, some areas of your business might be organized, but other areas might be in a mess. And a business always falls to its weakest point, just like a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. We're going to cover some of the things you can do to improve that. And the 4th level is about being an overseer. And this is dramatically different even from level 3. And I estimate that probably only 4% of business ever achieve this level in their business. An overseer is where you're able to step back and just oversee what's happening, being able to manage it, having the KPIs like Jay mentioned. And level 5, the top level, this is about being an owner, where you actually say you own a business. When people ask Stephen Ward now, he says, I own a business, because he's literally traveling the world, having an amazing lifestyle while the business runs without him. So at this level, you don't have a job anymore. You have the income and the time to enjoy your life on your terms, and you have that freedom of choice. You don't have to go to work, or you can do if you want, but the business will continue to grow without you even needing to be there. So let's go through these levels in more detail, and I'll explain the symptoms at each level so you can figure out exactly where you are. So what I want you to think about, again, score yourself. Do you think you spend most of your time in overwhelm, overworked, organized, or potentially even go towards the overseer level? So firstly, let's look at overwhelm. So overwhelm is not knowing what to do next. It's about being absolutely, it's about not knowing where to go next. Too many fires to put out. You can't even run your day-to-day operations. And one of the primary ways that we all try to tackle this is just sheer brute force and determination, working more and more hours. Now that might work for a period of time, but temporarily might move up to the next level, but often we fall back unless you have things in place in your business. So the next level is overwork. Now, eventually, most businesses get to this point, but this is exhausting because the owner's trying to micromanage everything because the team's not properly trained or they don't have the systems in place. I would guess that around about 90% of business owners fall into level 1 or 2 most of the time, maybe only brief moments where some areas of the business might get controlled and get into the next level. At this level, the business is completely dependent on the owner. If they stepped away for any long period of time, the business would fail. So it's just about not being able to take a 4-week vacation without checking your emails and your phone calls and checking in on the business. So for most people I work with, probably most people on the workshop, the shift is going to be going from this level up to level 3. Level 3 is the organized level. So this is where the owner has started to focus on the two things that you need in order to create a really robust and profitable, sustainable business that can run without you. And those two things are the two P's, the processes and the people. And the aim here is to create the processes and have the people to run the processes. I mean, this requires a lot of strategic thinking and planning, and it requires you to start working on your business rather than just in it. At this level, you can take a few days away. You could take maybe a week or two away from the business without taking calls. And when you come back, things will be running smoothly, just as smoothly as they were when you left. There's no big list of things to do or fires to put out when you get back. But really what we want to start getting to is level 4, starting to be an overseer. Now, business owners at this level or partners are really starting to make this shift from being an operator into being an owner. And they'll spend more time working on the business, improving the processes, improving the people, managing the teams than they are working in the business. So again, for solicitors, for lawyers, generally a lot less fee-earning work if they choose to. It's all about choice. But very few business owners or partners will ever achieve this level without reading, without learning, without being mentored by people who know how to create a business that can run without the owners. It's just too much trying to figure out on your own. You can't achieve this level just by hard work alone. You get stuck in a cycle of more and more responsibility being on you until you can't handle it anymore and things can come tumbling down. And we've all seen people like that, where it just gets too much and we get completely burnout and overrun. Right at the top is level 5 ownership. So this is where Stephen Ward and several other clients either are or are achieving. This is where you've created the people and the processes that run the business for you. And then you can hire and train someone to be the overseer for you. Or do you step out of the business? So they run the people, they run the processes, and they continue to run and improve and grow the business for you, requiring only minimal effort or input from you. Now, you have the absolute choice of what you want to do with your business. But this is where the true freedom exists, because you can spend time with your family, with your passions, working for charity, your community, whatever it is that you choose to do. So that's 5 levels of business ownership. So it'd be good if you could have a think about where you spend most of your time, or where you might generally get pulled back to of the gravity of just kind of how your business is running. So the next thing now is how do we move from one level up to the next? This is where the 3 pillars of business come in. The first thing is about having clarity of your vision. And if you're not really clear on where you're going, you're never going to be able to get there or communicate to your team where you're going so they can help you get there. And getting clarity on where you are going means you can then efficiently and effectively put the right things in place and have the amazing business and lifestyle that you deserve. And the next thing is about velocity. So this is about control. You don't have control of where you're spending how your business grows in terms of your marketing and your sales. You're going to spend your time just crashing from one cash flow disaster or operational disaster to another. You're going to be trapped in a business you can't escape from. This is about having the right systems in place so that you can deliver consistency in your growth and gain that predictable cash flow, that predictable profit and predictable revenue. The last thing is about, the last pillar I should say, is about value. This is about having clear financials and KPIs, as Jay spoke about. Again, those things be measured. What you measure gets managed. So without the clear financials and a team that you trust to grow, not just maintain your business, then the business will stagnate without those things. You'll never be able to sell it at a good profit, or won't be able to run without you being there. And that's what the value is all about in your business. So what happens if one thing is missing? Well, if any are missing or underperforming in your business, then your ability to earn more profit or reduce your stress or have the business run itself without relying on you are going to be severely capped. Let's have a quick look at what happens if one of these, if you've developed 2 of these areas instead of all 3. So if you had clear vision in your business and you had clear value, so you had the systems and the KPIs set up, that's great. But you've got a really clear vision, but you're in danger of investing too much time in the long term without looking at your short-term needs. That's going to give you some cash flow problems. Now let's look at if you had really good vision, so you know where you want to go, and you've got control of your velocity, so your marketing and your sales and the revenues are looking pretty good, that's pretty good. But you're very reliant, the business is still very reliant on the owner, because you haven't built that long-term value in where the processes and the people are starting to run it. So what if you had good velocity and good value, but didn't have the vision? Well, this is where the firefighter comes in. So the business is growing, but it's always issues arising because there's not alignment in the vision, and the company and the team, the people don't know where they're aiming. They don't know what decisions to make without you being there. And that's where the pressure always comes on the partners or business owners' shoulders. So covered 2 elements there. The next thing is putting it all together. This is 3V business growth model. Now, most business owners have strengths in some areas, but weaknesses in others. So the business will always fall to the lowest level, just like a train will always go down to, or is only as strong as its weakest link. So here's an example. I've got a visual up there of. So maybe in this business, they have a vision, but it's not been shared with the team that well, or maybe the team aren't bought into it very well. So let's say that's at 4 out of 5. So that's actually pretty good. But the control of the velocity, the control of growth, and the rate at which they're controlling their growth is only at level 3. And maybe they don't have very good financials or good KPIs as key performance indicators, the metrics that Jay spoke about. We don't have those in the business. So the value is only going to be at level 2. So the challenge here is the business can't grow further until we start to bring those processes, those people up to level 3 and level 4. Then the whole business can start to grow nicely and coordinatedly. So the question is, how do we know what to work on to move up the levels? Well, that's where the 9-step roadmap comes in. I'm going to cover that right now. So here's the 9-step roadmap. Well, these are our 3 pillars. You've got the vision at the top, you've got velocity, and you've got value. And I'm going to go through these really, really quickly. What I suggest you do, you could score yourself on each step. There's 9 steps out of 10, and just see how you think you're doing in each of your businesses. And the first one is the vision pillar. And the vision pillar is the alignment accelerator, the driving growth, and the dynamic profit. So step 1 is the alignment accelerator. And it makes this is the whole thing is about making sure that your business goals are aligned to your personal goals. So think about getting your personal goals set out for 1, 3, and 5 years, and understanding what your business needs to do in terms of growth, in terms of revenue and profit, and the income that it pays you, but also the time that you can have to yourself to enjoy it as well. So it's about making sure your business runs alongside your personal goals rather than start to take over. And step 2 is about driving growth. And this is about you have to know exactly how you're going to drive the business forward with your marketing, your sales, your operations, your recruiting. Otherwise, you're going to make stuff up as you go along, and you're going to be reactive rather than proactive. The next thing is about dynamic planning. And here, Jay spoke about the 90-day action plans. That's absolutely what we do all the time. This is where your long-term plans turn into your actionable annual and 90-day action plans. Even your weekly and daily activities are set out for you and your team to make sure we're moving towards our 90-day goals every single week. So the next level is level velocity, the next pillar. And the first one is managing your profit and cash. And this is critical, because if otherwise, you're not going to know whether you're growing properly and making enough money, or you might be growing a business, actually the business that's a cash-eating monster, and you don't want to be working harder just to earn the same, or in some cases, even less money. So many owners get stuck with the idea that growth is the only way forward, but it's not the case. It's about cash flow and it's about profit, far more relevant and important than revenue and turnover. The next step 5 is where revenue market come in. Once you've got a good, great cash flow, and we understand all your profit margins, so your business is turned up, this is where we can start to increase your revenue. So this is where Jay and James are going to come in. You know, you've got to be able to drive that more revenue with better targeted marketing, better business development, sales, optimizing, conversion rates, and start generating those really high quality leads that would bring those A-grade clients to you that you love to work with and love to pay you higher fees, but get more of them and convert them in higher amounts as well. And step 6 is operations and systems. You've got to make sure you've got the right operations and systems in place, because at a certain point, it's going to be far too much just for you or the senior partners or even your team to start running the business without processes in your business. Otherwise, you're going to constantly solving one problem after another. And the third pillar is the value. And the value pillar is made up of the financials and KPIs, innovation, leadership, and team and culture. So step 7 is financials and KPIs. And the reason they come first is that you can't value a business, let alone increase its value, if you don't know what to measure. When I worked with Stephen Ward, he was really pleased with himself. He came to see me, he just showed me his iPhone. His dashboard for his business is live. It's real data on his phone. It shows what leads, the cost per lead, the conversion rate, cost per conversion, average sale value, at a full business operating on the front screen of his phone. It's phenomenal to see. So he can manage his business from anywhere in the world. So this is vital if you're going to start moving up those levels of ownership. You've got to get the right dashboard, and you've got to understand what metrics you need to focus on and what your team should be focusing on to grow the business. Level 8 is about innovation and leadership. So at some point, we can't keep growing and growing the business. This is now about getting more with less, or getting more of what we've currently got. So you're going to get, businesses will always hit a plateau in their growth. So innovation and leadership is going to overcome those to keep that competitive advantage and keep that business sustainable. And then step 9 is team and culture. This is about getting a great team and the right culture. So your business is something bigger than just you, and it's got a life of its own, and you've got a great team and great people working for you. And if you can get all these steps right, then you're really well on your way to having a robust and profitable, sustainable business where you can choose to work in it or work on it, or just be free to have the life that you want. So we've covered 5 levels of business ownership. We want the 3 key business pillars and the 9-step roadmap. What I didn't get to cover was how to optimize your time, how to maximize your profit, or how to build that fantastic team. So that's my time up. So I'm going to hand over now. But one thing I will say, if you did want any of the resources, more than happy to share them with you. And also, if you've got a team, I have access to something called Engagement Multiplier, which is an amazing survey. It's completely free. I give you a full report on your team, how engaged they are, what they love about your business, what's no good. So it gives you an opportunity to see exactly where to focus in your business to grow it, basically. So that's it for me. For after the talk, you should be able to know exactly where you should be focusing in your business. And if I achieve that in 15 minutes, that is 75% quicker than I normally do. Right, I'll stop sharing now. I'll hand back to you, Jay. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, this format is tough. I mean, if you all have ever done a presentation, you normally do 45 minutes and get 15 minutes for questions. And I challenge these guys. I'm like, look, I want your best 15 minutes. So it's really, really tough. But John, you did awesome. You talked fast, but so did I. So I like to do a little thing that's been very well received by folks, where I sum up what I heard, and it sort of helps reinforce the learning. So the first thing I heard, and from my notes, you talked about the 5 levels of business ownership. And essentially it's about moving from that crazy, like when your client was working 80 hours a week and losing money on the business, to where he basically is just overseeing the business. And he was able to take 3 months away from the business with $1.3 million in profit. So the first step is overwhelm, where you're just trying to figure things out and you're working like crazy. And then the next step is overwork, where you try and make it up with brute force and just put in more hours and work harder. And I think we've all been there, those of us who are business owners. And then the next step, you start to get organized and you start to put in the process and the people. And it seems like everybody has a challenge with the people these days, with the great resignation. So we can spend some time on that maybe in the Q&A. And then you become an overseer, and you make the shift to become an owner operator, where don't have any line functions. Like I always say, I don't want to be in charge of any functions, any departments. Like if I'm not in any of the departments, my business is much better off, because I can find someone who's really, really good at that specialty. And then ownership, where you can really step out of the business. I've never been there, so we're gonna also ask you some questions about that. You talked about the 3 pillars of the business: vision, value, and velocity, and the 9-step roadmap. And I loved how you pulled in the vision, value, and velocity. Vision, value, and velocity, and 3 component parts that makes each of those happen. In particular, just building on what I talked about with the 90-day action plans. And what I mentioned was that we do these brainstormings, and the entire team brainstorms, like, what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are the trends in the industry? So we don't do strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, because those two things sort of mirror each other. But we add to it by talking about the trends in our industry, the trends in society, the trends that our clients are facing. And then we brainstorm the projects, and that gives a tremendous result. Like you talked about the 90-day plans, and you also talked about the importance of buy-in. And I think really that's the magic of our process. And it sounds like you have a similar process, that if the team builds the plan, the team votes on and agrees on the priorities, everybody's into it. Everybody's passionate about it. And it's amazing how many things come up that I didn't think of, that I wouldn't have made a priority, but the team makes it a priority, and how powerful it is when you get that buy-in. So a couple quick questions. You know, I think you said that very few people make the shift from 4 to 5. And I admitted that, you know, I've never really gotten to 5 where I could leave for a couple months at a time, because I'm still a component part of so many parts of my business. So what's the important, like, how do businesses make that huge leap from, you know, level 3 to 4, where they're organized to overseer, and then level 4 to 5, where they go from overseer to ownership?
Yeah, that's a good, great question. And so I think, as I said, it's the 2 Ps, processes and people. Your systems should run the business, and then you should manage the people to run the processes. And it's a never-ending game as well, because, as you said, you know, think of your industry with the way marketing changed. Your processes have got to change and update, and you've got to be measuring it. So the first thing really is, well, it starts right at the beginning, and get that clear focus on where you're going. If we don't know where we're going, we'll never be able to get there. So a clear plan on where the business is going. Then we can start to get the right people, we get the right processes in place, and then it's about good management as well. You've got to be able to lead and then manage your team, and all of that is really tough to do, and get your team to buy in. So it's a kind of a mixture of all of them. But if you get your team engaged, as you said, it's a real challenge right now at the moment. They will do phenomenal things with the right people, getting them bought into the journey. So it kind of starts with knowing where you're going, getting the team engaged in that. And what I found is, when the team are engaged, they'll start to be able to write the processes or build the processes that work, because they're the guys doing it hands on hand every day. So it's about that. And then it's about, for many of us, being able to let go, because our business is our baby, and no one could do it as good as we can. But as you said, get someone who's better than us managing those things. And that's what I find is, many business owners are so busy juggling so many things. It's really tough emotionally for them to let go and have confidence in the people. So that's where systems help, and team engagement help. But it has to have that confidence and the vision, I think, to be able to step back and be able to have level 5 ownership if you wanted it. But it's fun. But you think of Richard Branson, Elon Musk, so many great business owners have multiple businesses. They're not in there every day. They're all doing that. All the big guys are doing that. And I think there's nothing stopping us getting there. It's generally, it's up here. We don't believe that we can, or trust the process.
Great answer. That's a great answer. Well, I got a couple really good zinger questions for you, John, but I'm going to save them to the end for the panel. And I want to get into Richard's content. And Richard, thank you for your patience. And hopefully you made it through the storm, and your audio and video and everything's good. But Richard runs a business, attorney business management consulting. And he's going to talk to us about the perfect client life cycle. And one of the things they teach us in as being a professional speaker is, you want to tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them, or what is it? Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And I think Richard's going to echo or touch on some of the topics I talked about and John talked about, and it'll be awesome because we'll all learn from hearing it from 3 different places. And he's going to talk about his strategy called Little Hinges, I think, because he mentioned it both times we spoke. And interestingly, he embalmed dead bodies, and maybe he'll tell us a little bit about that. And on his 40th birthday, he went skydiving, because his philosophy is, your business should be boring, but your life should be the adventurous part. And with that, I'll turn the slides over to Richard, and hopefully this will work as smoothly as it did for John.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and share my screen, and I can get into this a little bit. Can you see my screen okay? Profitability through
Perfect.
increased conversion. Great. So, going third is, yeah, I get to echo your thoughts. By the way, both of you did a great job, Jay and John. I've been working with attorneys specifically for about 15 years now. And I got to tell you, when I first started back in 2008-ish, there was not a lot of people having these conversations with small law firms. There was maybe 2 of us. And now I'm watching the evolution happen where people are coming from other industries and lawyers are starting to realize that they need to borrow the intelligence from other industries and realize that my business is no different than yours. And that's the philosophy we come from. So it's great to watch this transformation, watch the 2 of you present from your base of knowledge, bring this into the legal industry, and then watch the lawyers and the small business owners that are on the call today really absorb the information and take it and implement it into their practice. I'll try to avoid some of the cliches. It's funny, we all read the same books, right? So it's profit first, the Mike Michalowiczism. The top side is for vanity, bottom side is for sanity. The Rockefeller habits, tractions, we're moving towards freedom. Systems should run your law firm. People should run your business. What you get measured magnifies. So these are all the things that we all say because these are all the things that we've all heard because they're truths, right? The key though is implementing them. The key is actually putting them into practice into your law firm. And so what I'm going to talk about inside of my little section today is conversion. And really the conversion for me is foundational. Everything that's been discussed today is important. And Jay, to answer your question, I would say, when you say, well, how do you get to that point where you can take a month off? I remember 15 years ago when I launched this business, I had been in previous businesses prior to this, but when I launched this business, I made the decision I was going to take every July off. Now, that was a bold statement because the business revolved solely around me and my ability to do my job. So how was I going to take July off? And then about 4 or 5 years in, I ramped that up to July and December off. And we've successfully done that now through the life cycle of the business. And one of the things I try to convince my clients to do is also to look to try to find a month off. But why could they do that? It first starts with a massive desire to want to do it. Because if you don't want to do it, if it's not really all that important to you, 2 things. 1, that's okay, because you get to build whatever it is you want, right? We're in a free country. You could literally build the business how you see it working for you. And 2, if you actually want to do it, you can accomplish absolutely any dream that you can think of if you run it through this process of systems and get to profitability. So let's break into it. Foundational. For me, the foundational concept is it really comes down to what John Wooden said about understanding how to be successful. He says the knowledge of and the ability to properly and quickly execute the fundamentals, be prepared and cover every little detail. And I'm a detail guy, right? So I believe in paying attention to the smallest things and how they can make the hugest difference. John Wooden was famous for teaching his professional or college level professional basketball players how to tie their shoes, how to put on their socks properly so they didn't get blisters, so they wouldn't have to stop to tie their shoe in the middle of an important moment in a game. And he just believed the little things mattered. And I've just found that near and dear to my heart throughout the course of my years. But you might say to yourself, well, why should I listen to you? So Jay alluded to this concept that I have a background, and one of the backgrounds is in the funeral business. And so I think there are 3 reasons why you should listen to me. And I'm going to borrow a cliche that was said here today. It's something that we've been saying for many years. And this is this concept that systems should run your law firm and people should run your systems. Systems should run your law firm and people should run your systems. It's a simple thing to say, but it's very difficult to execute sometimes. And what I mean by that is we need to have a foundation in place where the machine runs things in every different department, much like John talked about today. And again, I'm going to focus on one of those particular machines or systems today. And of course, finding the right people this day and age is more and more challenging, but it is possible. The second reason I think you should listen to me is because I teach you to do what I do and I do what I teach you to do. I run my business exactly the same way that I teach you to do it. I eat my own dog food. I just believe that there are too many people who teach from the perspective of theory and they don't actually know how to get in out of the rain. And so I believe you should listen to somebody who's actually done what it is they're telling you to do. And so I believe that's true of Jay, and I believe that's true of John based on what I know about them and what I hear them saying. They have real life experience. So you need to be working with somebody who has real life experience. The third reason is I am you. I'm a small business owner. You know, I started in the insurance business, learned how to sell. I went into the funeral business when I was 22 years old, and I owned 3 funeral homes by the time I was 26. And I love the funeral business, but I love sales and marketing more. Couldn't put a sign on the side of the building and said, buy one, get one free, and get any real results. So I figured I needed to do something else. I ended up buying a pet supply company and had manufacturers in China and 3,000 customers across the world, and on and on and on, and employees out the yin yang. And I was going nuts. And I couldn't figure out why I was working until 3 o'clock in the morning. I was literally moving a bed into my office. I was working so much. And it was this idea of systems that I had to learn, along the way. And then once I figured it out, everything started to work. And then as I transitioned out of the pet supply industry and I transitioned into the service business and consulting business, I just happened to fall on law. I worked with a guy who I helped him with his business. He worked with lawyers. And about 15 years ago, he said, hey, do you think what you're teaching me would work for lawyers? And I said, I don't see why not. And I created my first program called the DNA of the 7-Figure Law Firm. And I started teaching that from stage. And one guy in the audience saw me speak and said, hey, I'm building a new law firm in Phoenix. Would you like to come with me and try all your crazy ideas? As long as you protect my license, I'll let you do it. And I said, yeah, let's go. And I leaped. We started together kneecap to kneecap, like $0 in sales. We had one yellow page ad. This is back in 2008, 2009-ish, when that still worked, right? And we launched, and we never looked back. In just 2.5 years, we grew that firm from 0 to $3.5 million in annual gross sales. And more importantly, we grew it in a way that owner was able to not have to work nights and not have to work weekends unless he so chose. He was able to take his very first vacation ever in his life, went away for an entire month. And that was because we had systems that ran the law firm and people that ran the systems. From there, I started teaching one-on-one consulting on how to do this exact process. And then from there, we created what's called Partners Club today, which is I'm the founder and CEO of. And that's where like-minded attorneys come together and they learn how to build these systems that we're talking about as a peer network. And so I believe you should listen to me for all of these reasons, but most importantly, I think you should probably say, you know what, don't take my word for it. It's my clients that tell the real story. So this is one of my very first clients. He's still with me today. So that speaks volumes. Jamie Miller is a bankruptcy attorney out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And, when Jamie first came to me, he said, Rich, I've got a problem. I go, what's that? He goes, well, I just don't trust that everything's getting done the way I wanted to get done. And I said, okay, what does that mean? He goes, well, that means I've got to work Saturdays because we're open on Saturdays. So I'm working every single Saturday and I have been for years. And he said, the other problem I have is I keep wanting to grow my firm, but the only way I can grow my firm is if I spend more money on marketing. I got to increase my spend so I can grow my firm. And I'm like, well, that's part of it, but let's see, are you maximizing things the right way? And what we found out is he wasn't. And so with just a few carburetor adjustments, we were able to focus on the one system I'm going to talk to you about today. And Jamie was actually able to grow his firm 300% in a very short period of time. And he was doing 7 figures, so you could do the math. But most importantly, as we said, that top side number is for vanity, the bottom side number is for sanity, right? It's all about profitability. And profitability paved the way to build additional systems and people. And if you look at what Jamie said, the way he thought he had to grow his practice was by marketing and advertising. But what he found out is if he just paid attention to the way he converted those leads and paid attention, as in my language, the little hinges that swing the big doors, he was able to grow his firm more rapidly and with systems he could count on. And because of that, he was actually able to take an entire month off last year and escape the Wisconsin winters and spend an entire month in Florida. And he did it again this year as well. And so that's what's exciting, right? That's what he wanted. Now, here's the truth. Jamie loves the law. He loves what he does. He still likes to work with his clients, and he comes back and he still invests time with his clients. He doesn't want to be gone all the time. He doesn't want to be completely free of his practice. He wants to do what he likes to do. And he doesn't want to do things he doesn't like to do. And he realizes he still has to keep his hand on the knob and pay attention to the systems. And as John said, look at all the dashboards that tell him all the KPIs. But he wants the freedom to come and go as he pleases. And so you get to build whatever kind of business that you want to build. Jamie happened to choose one where he was free to kind of run his life this way. Now, here's the system we paid attention to. Okay, so this system is called the lead conversion machine. The lead conversion machine. That's my language. You're not going to look that up in the dictionary and find it. And then we talk about something called your perfect client lifecycle. Again, that's something that we created years ago, and it's something proprietary to us in this concept. Now, the words are proprietary, but the moving parts that run through this are the same for you, whether you're a PI firm or a bankruptcy firm or a criminal firm, whether you're in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Bakersfield, California, or St. Louis, Missouri. It just doesn't matter, right? Your systems that run your lead conversion machine are there. You just may not realize what they are. And so we look at this as a flow. So how many qualified leads do we get over a period of time? And then we say to ourselves, okay, of those qualified leads, how many of them convert into an appointment? And from those that convert into an appointment, how many of them actually show up? And of the ones that actually show up, how many of them retain the firm? And of the ones that retain the firm, how many of them pay their bill in full? And then of those, how many refer your business? So we're going to pay attention just to the first 4 today, because I've got a small compressed time frame for you. And some of you may need to learn how to get paid or have price elasticity or build a referral machine. And we could talk about that at another time. But for today, I'm going to focus on these 4 top areas. And so let's cover this idea of lead generation. So regardless of how your leads come in, whether they come in via phone call, and I loved when Jay was talking about how they tracked, where the leads came from and the percentage of the leads that were conversion. This percentage of clients to as compared to leads is a great 30,000 foot view number to tell you the health of that particular lead source or where they're coming in. And to understand which ones are qualified and not qualified and be able to count them correctly. Whether they send a smoke signal that say they're interested, or they come in via your web form, or they pick up the phone and they call you, we're counting the number of leads, and we're harvesting every single piece of data about every single thing every single time. So we're getting the name, the phone number, the email address, and their address. So we have multiple ways to communicate with them. And then we're measuring, of those leads, how many of them actually convert to an appointment, whether that appointment is in person, whether that appointment is a hot transfer, whether that appointment is a phone call or a video conferencing call like this. What we know is important. We have to understand how many of them convert into an appointment. And because the ones who don't convert, we call those unconverted leads. I'll talk more about that in a second. And then we pay attention, of those who set an appointment, how many of them actually show? Can you believe it? People don't show to their appointments this day. When I was raised, if you set an appointment with your doctor or your dentist or your lawyer, my gosh, you were going to show up. It's just not how it works. People don't have the same level of loyalty that they once had, and they're being dragged off in 100 different directions by 100 different things, like their smartphone and their televisions and fill in the blank. And so their attention span isn't what it used to be, and so they don't show up. So how do we make sure that they show up? What do we do to ensure we maximize the conversion rate to shows? And then the people who show up, how many of them retain the firm? I can't tell you how many times I look at numbers inside of law firms, and they realize really quickly after they share the numbers with me that they're missing the opportunity of converting the people who need their help, who can afford their help, to actually retaining the firm right then and there. And it's predominantly because they don't have a system or what we call a sales structure involved in converting those leads. And then we look from there, what is your average client value? So this is a number you need to know. So if you're listening to me, if you're still tuned in after an hour being with us today, take the time and think about, what is your average client value? What do you get? If you're a PI firm, are you getting $10,000 or $12,000 to the firm? Are you getting $3,000 to the firm? If you're a bankruptcy firm or a family law firm, where are you at? $2,500, $9,000? What is the client value of your firm in the course of, let's say, the life period of that case? And so you need to know that number, and I'm going to show you why you need to know that number in a second. And so once you understand what your average client value is, and you understand this idea of your perfect client lifecycle, we now start to ask questions like, what are the little hinges that swing the big doors? So the little hinges that swing the big doors between, if I look at your data over a period of a month and I start filling this out and I go, okay, how many leads do we generate that were qualified this month? And how many of them converted into appointments? Well, the little hinges that swing the big doors is we're looking at a conversion rate of simple arithmetic. It's not calculus, it's simple arithmetic. We're just going to divide the number of appointments that were set by the number of leads. And so we're going to get a conversion rate. That's just called our set rate. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, how do we affect that set rate? What do we have to do in order to get a better set rate? In what way do we have to pay attention to the scripting and the structure of the phones, how the way the phones are answered, who's answering the phones, how many outbound calls are we making? We have to ask these questions. And the same with the number of the appointments that convert to actually show. This is called the show rate. It's the number of shows divided by the number of sets. That's our show rate. And then we say, well, how do we make sure more people show? And we have to focus on what we call the reminder sequence. And then from the people that show, we have to ask ourselves, how many of them actually retain the firm? And so this is called the hire rate. And that's just the number of people that retain the firm divided by the number of people who actually showed in that time period. And that gets you to your hire rate. And when you put that all together and you come up with what we call the perfect client lifecycle formula and add that with your client value, we can start to put math to this. So let's take a look at it. So if I put this into this sheet, by the way, you can go here. I'll give it to you as a gift. You can use this for yourself. When you ask yourself how many leads, how many sets, how many shows, and how many hires, you can go to this sheet for you. And it's called yourpclc.com. There's no charge. I'm not going to ask you for your name. You could just go ahead and use it. It's called yourpclc.com. Let me show it to you right now. So if I take what is like an average client that walks into our world, this is kind of a representative of a client who walks into our world. They've got 100 leads. About 50 of them will turn into appointments. And by the way, that 100 leads is qualified. 35 of those appointments will show. 18 of those shows will retain. And they have an average case value of $2,500. And so what we say is with your PCLC today, as compared to your PCLC tomorrow, so your perfect client lifecycle where it is today, as compared to your perfect client lifecycle tomorrow, in the course of a month, if I were to just change these numbers by 10%. So if I showed you better ways to do marketing so we could figure out which lead sources were working and which lead sources weren't, and have you focus on the lead sources that were working, we could get a 10% increase. If I show you how to script and structure, we could just get a 10% increase in the number of sets that we have. If I show you how to use a reminder sequence, we can get a 10% increase in the number of shows that you have. If I show you how to put a sales structure in place and build a system for that, we can get a 10% increase there. And if I show you how to create price elasticity in your firm and build a system for that, you can actually increase by 10% there. Well, we're just making little hinges that swing the big doors. And you can see that in this firm that was doing $540,000 in gross revenues, we added, just by adding these little 10% moves, $27,000 in monthly revenue, $329,000 in annual revenue by focusing on the little hinges that swing the big doors. You see, here's the truth of the matter, right? The truth of the matter is that most small law firms, I want to turn off my camera for this. Most small law firms, giving them more leads would be a sin because they're just not converting the leads they've already got. So in most cases, with all cases in our world, the first place we start is to make sure we're converting the leads you already have. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with investing in new lead sources. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with firms that generate leads for you. They're vital to your existence. But for some of you, all you want to do is go get more leads. And what you really need to do is learn how to convert the leads that you're already getting. And so if we could just learn how to convert the leads that you're already getting, we can start having intelligent conversations like this, where we say, well, let's actually go and look at this. We're going to generate $329,000 in additional revenue. And all of a sudden, when you start having these questions, you could say, what does that equal in dollars a month for you? What does that equal in dollars for the year for you? And what if you were to put that on like this page and said to yourself, what if I said to myself, what would $329,000 on a $500,000 firm, what would $329,000 allow you to do? Would it allow you to keep more for yourself? It allow you to pay taxes? Would it bring your profitability to where it should be? Would it allow you to be able to hire people that could help you get to the next stage in your business, like John was talking about? The answer to all of that is yes. And it all starts with more profitability. And the way that we get more profitability is to make sure we're charging the right fee, make sure we're converting through the perfect client lifecycle, and make sure we're knowing exactly which lead sources are working and which lead sources aren't, so that we can focus with a laser beam rather than a shotgun. So listen, again, there is so much to cover under this topic of profitability. Today, you learned 45 to 50 minutes presentations between the three of us on different views of this. Inside of mine, I just wanted to focus on the lead conversion machine, or what we call your perfect client lifecycle. If you want to learn more, I created a masterclass, and you're welcome to go ahead and attend that for yourself. You can go to attorneyseminar.com. and you can watch this masterclass that I created for you. And I'll break this down a little bit further. I'll give you the 5 shifts that you need to know to help you get to where you want to be able to generate an additional $200,000 in annual billable hours for your firm a year. Whether you're a flat fee firm, whether you're an hourly billing firm, whether you're a contingency firm, it doesn't matter. These foundational principles work. So I hope that you're able to get some value out of today, learning how to actually input this lead conversion machine in your firm, or at least start to think about the way you see your lead conversion machine differently. Here's what I know. it already exists in your firm. The question is whether you're measuring it correctly or not. So hopefully this was able to help you see that a little bit more clearly. Jay, back to you.
Thanks, Richard. I think people will appreciate the fast talking when they hear this on the podcast. So if you enjoy the speed of the talking, I sometimes turn podcasts up to 1.25 or 1.5. I don't think you'll have to do that today.
Yeah, I tend to talk at 250 words a minute with occasional gusts up to 500. That's my normal speed. And when you what did somebody say once? I need you to give an hour presentation. All right, I just need 5 minutes to create that. I need you to give a 15-minute presentation. All right, I need like 30 hours to create that, right? So it's always more difficult to create a shorter presentation than a longer presentation. But at the end of the day, I think we delivered them some good value today. I too listen to my books and my podcasts at 2, 2.4, 2.5 because I want to be able to digest it as fast as I can. What they're really looking for today is one nugget they can walk away with, whether it be from your presentation or John's or mine, that it goes, aha, because this is an evolutionary thing, right, Jay? That we didn't get to where we are today because we were born this way or because it just so happened. I've been doing this for 35 years. And you guys have been doing this a long time too. So it just doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, one step at a time. What they need to find is just one thing that works for them today that they can move the needle and then come back and get another thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I've got the one thing.
Cool.
So I'm just going to do my summary section of your part. And I got a couple great questions for both of you. So the summary of the lead conversion machine, that it's super important to do lead generation. And one of the things you mentioned that's like amazing breakthrough for us in our marketing and also for our attorney clients is you said it's super important to get the information from the clients when they first call in or fill out the form. And you said name, phone, and address, but I've added a little asterisk to that, which is cell phone, because so many attorneys are actually doing business by cell phone today. We use a tool that we can text people, and most of you here today on the webinar, and maybe even some of you in the future, gave us your cell phone, and then we texted you the link. And that's so powerful because if you forget about the webinar or you're away from your computer, we can text you that link, and it's so awesome to get the cell phone. And then obviously for law firms and frankly any business today, more of your consumers are communicating with you by cell phone. So the lead conversion machine is that lead gen, and you got to count the number of leads, track your conversion rate. So that's the percentage of those leads. I guess there's two conversions. You talked about the percentage that are good leads, and then the percentage that convert, and then the show rate, the people who actually show up for their appointment, and the number who convert to clients and then retain as clients. And that next step you called the perfect client life cycle. So I loved the tool you provided at yourpclc.com, yourpclc.com. That's a great little calculator. So you had the number of leads, the number of appointments, the number of shows, and the number of retains. And the key thing I took from that is that you can make little incremental improvements. And I guess that's the little hinges that swing the big doors, that just a small improvement in the quality of those leads, the small improvement in the number of appointments, the number of conversions, and the retention rate is huge in terms of the overall performance of the numbers overall. So that was my summary. And then my trick questions. How do you improve show rate? So many folks are struggling these days. People say they'll come, they don't show up, or they never actually make it to the appointment. So what are the best ways to improve show rate?
Yeah, Jay, so it's a great question. So you showed a graphic earlier that showed that we were measuring a client's leads, and you noticed that when they called in via the phone, they converted a 24% lead to client, as compared to when they came in via form fill, they converted at 5% lead to client. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the key. And this is an overarching statement, then I'll answer your question more directly. So our clients who get this right convert their leads to clients at 40 to 45%. Now, that may or may not impress somebody, but I need you to know that that is an unprecedented number. Most law firms don't convert. Most law firms, when left to their own devices, convert somewhere between 10 and 15% of all of the leads into clients. And the reason that they do, our clients do this, is because we teach them that 60% of the gross sales of their business will come from people who originally said no. So the answer to your first question is to how you get people to show up is recognize that most people aren't going to, there's going to be a percentage of people who don't show up anyway. And we can't just let them go. So there's going to be people who say, no, I don't want to set an appointment right now. No, I don't want to show up to my appointment right now. No, I don't want to retain your firm right now. And if you let them go and don't have a system to convert those leads, what happens is that you end up losing 60% of the revenue that you could be generating is generated by people who originally said no. So when we have somebody who doesn't show up, we have to make sure that we're following up with them. We have an outbound structure, predominantly the phone. But the way that we get the first set of people to show up, so the percentage of people who actually do show up and maximize that number, is by just developing a reminder sequence. We use what we call the 5 senses of communication. So we want to make sure we're utilizing text messaging, to your point, of cell phones. We want to make sure we're using email. We want to make sure we're using direct mail. In our world, we call it a shock and awe package. We want to make sure we're using the phone call, which is the #1 tool that is overlooked in most law firms. So picking up the phone and actually calling them and reminding them several times. And then we want to use what's called voice blast or slide dialing. And we want to be able to leave the owner's voice on their voicemail so they actually hear from the owner themselves. And so all of these things combined with the proper script and structure of setting the appointment to begin with maximizes that show rate.
I had another good trick question here, but I wrote notes on top of my notes, so give me a sec. Oh yeah. You talked about those little changes, changing like 10%. So getting better leads, getting a higher percentage rate of leads to appointments. And I see some chat questions coming in from the chat, so thank you. We'll get to your questions in 2 minutes. The show rate, the retention rate. So one of the things you said, is a little bit of a light bulb for me because it's always a challenge. How do you track better leads? So the question, to be specific, is, you get leads in through your marketing, and you said that by getting better leads, your retention rate goes up. So, but how do you track the source and the lead, and if they're better leads across the source?
Yeah, so I agree with you, and I'll just +1 on it. So I don't necessarily know that we need better leads. I mean, that is a very practice area specific statement. So a contingency based firm like a PI firm or workers' comp firm or social security disability firm, they need better leads. A bankruptcy firm, they just need somebody who needs bankruptcy, right? So we need more leads. I don't mean to make it that cut and dry, but it oftentimes is. So it's quantity over quality in this particular conversation. And so what we're trying to do is figure out how to generate more leads with the same dollars. So if my advertising budget is $10,000 a month, and I'm paying currently, $50 a lead, how can I use the same budget but pay $40 a lead or $45 a lead? And the answer is two particular answers. One, we have to track every single lead source every single time. And so when I built the law firm in Phoenix, I had 175 unique tracking numbers. Now people think I'm nuts because I had that many numbers. I had a budget of about $850 a month just in phone numbers alone. But that allowed me to go from literally starting a firm from scratch and doing $0 in business to becoming the #1 filer in the town in under 2.5 years, because while everybody else was using a shotgun, I was using a laser beam. And so now what we do is, since we know what works and we know what doesn't, and we look at where we can add more dollars to that so we can expand on it, we start to invest more dollars in the lead sources that work as compared to the lead sources that don't, until we get what we call diminishing returns. So now we're literally throwing gasoline on us. Tracking allows us to use a laser beam while all of our competition is using a shotgun. They're just putting it out there and hoping something sticks. Whereas we're going, no. we know that this keyword on the, at this time with this much, with this landing page works the best. We know that this direct mail piece sent to this list works the best. We know that this TV ad at this time during the day, this works the best, and repeat that process over and over again. And we just keep spending more and more money on that particular lead source, which allows us to lower our cost per lead and get a higher quantity of leads at the same level of quality.
Good answer. I'll let John go first, but this question's for both of you because you both talked about systems. We all three talked about systems, and training your internal folks on systems. So, 4-part question: what are systems? Where do they live? Meaning, are they books? Are they online things? Are they videos? So, what are systems? Where do they live? How do you train? And how often do you need to retrain? So, John, you want to take that?
Yeah, okay, cool. So what's the system? Well, the system is just a way of doing something. I get up in the morning, my back hurts, first thing I get up stretch, my eyes are closed. I kind of know where the bathroom is. I know how to get downstairs, and I automate straight to putting the kettle on and getting the mug of tea. I know what I'm doing. I don't need an instruction. So it kind of, I was in the military, and everything's a system. How you strip, clean, replace your weapon, shoot, every single thing that we did was a system. The NBC, the first aid. Systems are great because actually some people tend to think that having a system takes away your innovation ability to innovate. Actually, it does the opposite. The simple things, 80% you can automate or systemize, leaves you brain free to innovate for the 20%. So what are they? It's just a simple way of doing something, finding something that works, whatever that might be. And it could be as simple as, I like what Richard said, and I picked up on it smart, using the scripts that work to do certain things in the sales and marketing process. So a system is quite simply how they do anything, how they set the alarms, how they answer the phone, how they onboard a client. And it is really about finding where most time is going or most things are inefficient, and then putting systems in there. Where do they live? Well, I guess it's where's most relevant for that business. And it could be an online system. It could be automation. It could be, the company handbook. It's something where people are, where are they going to use it? And I'm not a small business owner, but I wrote a system yesterday. I'm doing things how I identify and find people that want to work with online. And as I wrote down a simple 9-second instruction so that I can give it to someone else, to an outsourced person, so they can do it for me and save my time. So where do they live? It's whatever works for your firm, but it needs to be found by everybody. It could consist of written, it could be a short video. I could just simply set up a Zoom video and share my screen and show how I do something online and share that. It's really whatever works. And again, Richard said use it on multi-senses. So make it visual, make it audio, make it written, because we all have different ways of learning. So yeah, it's best to use things that are, well, you've got to use systems that are going to be used, otherwise they're completely worthless. How do you manage them? It does come down to training. I often hear a lot of clients, they've got systems, but no one follows them. Well, how good is the system? How relevant is the system? Often I find when working with the teams on the engagement side of things, the teams know what works, know what doesn't quite well. So they're actually in a good place to build the systems, because then they're bought into it and more likely to use it. I think I've answered all your questions because you fired about 4 of me at one time.
That's awesome. Richard, question: what are systems? Where do they live? How do you train? How often do you retrain?
So here's a screen. I agree with John completely. Everything is a system. So I had to figure out how to define this years ago. What is a system? And this is my definition. It is not a Webster's dictionary. So I said any machine that we can build and then set it and forget it with little maintenance along the way. Any machine that we can build and then set it and forget it with a little maintenance along the way. There is no true set it and forget it. You need to maintain it. What is a machine? A machine could be a stack of file folders with a red brick, a green brick, or a blue brick on it. And that we just have a system of moving it from A to B, from red brick to green brick to blue brick. And I actually helped a client do that way back in the day because they didn't want to use computers. And so we had to help them systemize with just a manual process. So a system isn't a software. A system isn't necessarily a filing cabinet. A system isn't necessary. A system for me is this machine that we build, right? So it is a set of rules of engagement that the company creates that says we're going to do something this way. Now, the system on its own doesn't matter because it leads to your second question, which is where do they exist? Well, they exist wherever they happen to be. And as again, it could be pen and paper, it could be on the computer, it could be in the cloud. But now, how do you train? Well, first, we have to have the second rule in place, right? So the second rule of building any system is inspecting what you expect by report. So you can have the system, but now, like my grandfather said, there's what we want to be happening in business. There's what we think is happening in business, and there's what is actually happening in business, right? This is a reality of a small business owner. The goal is to try to get what you want to be happening as close to what is actually happening as possible. And the way that you do that is you inspect by report, and not just inspect, but literally by report. So you have what John was talking about, KPIs that inspect how that particular system was working. You said, Jay, you have to measure everything, right? So we have to make sure we have inspection processes in place. And then finally, it's all about automation. So the last part of any system is automation. So it's someone or something other than the owner is actually running the system. So it could be a person that's running the system, or it could be the system is automated because it's computerized and it's actually running itself. And so that's the optimum. The owner is separated from it. Somebody else runs it. And then the owner's job is to inspect the reports to make sure the systems are operating as optimum, and then guide the person or people who are running those systems to be able to improve them and make those differences. As far as training, we believe in weekly training on just about everything we have. It's fairly standard it is standard in our office. We have weekly meetings for everything. I train all of my clients to use weekly meetings. Oftentimes they don't know what to say when they first have those weekly meetings, but the first habit is the most important habit, which is starting the habit of having weekly meetings where we are having intelligent conversations about the systems that we're building and how we're moving the needle forward.
A lot of people talk about the daily huddle. For both of you guys, weekly meetings or daily huddles?
So I think there's a time and place for daily huddles, and I like them. You can call them scrums, you can call them whatever you want. We've used many different versions. I believe that in the early stages of building a system, when we are first getting it involved, getting it started, or we're doing something new in the firm, we tend to go to daily huddles. I put a team lead in place. Their job is to lead the daily huddle, and everybody's just supposed to identify what they're working on today, and if anything, what's in the way of them getting that done. And the team is supposed to do that, and it should be in 10 or 15 minutes, and that's a daily huddle, so everybody's focus is on it. Within the first month, and usually after the first 2 weeks, everybody's had enough of the daily huddle because it just gets redundant, and everybody's got their groove, and we can usually move to twice a week, if not just simply weekly meetings on the matter, and we're all moving it forward, very much like a traction methodology.
What do you think, John? Weekly or
yeah,
daily?
I would say the same. And I think it all back, we look at the 12-month objective, the 90-day plan, and then weekly actions going and daily stuff going in your diary. And yeah, when you're dealing with your teams, daily, weekly, certainly monthly reviews. But as things get better, there's a really good book. I'm trying to think what it is. Lion Meetings. I forgot what it stands for. It's a super. I think it's last week. Something like last week. Innovation opportunities.
I'll give you I'll give you my meeting cadence, and you can Google it and come back to us with it. I found a really nice cadence. We do a team meeting every 2 weeks with all the direct reports and all the full-time department heads, and then I do my one-to-one meeting with all my direct reports on the ensuing week. And so basically I have a meeting every week with all my direct reports. One is the entire team. The next week is one-on-one. The next week is the entire team. The next week is a one-on-one. That seems to be a real nice cadence. It's frequently enough that everyone's in touch. We're dealing with issues that need more than one person in the team meeting. And we have a real good agenda and stick to it. And by the way, start with something fun. Because one of the mistakes I made early on is our meetings used to all be about client problems, and we used to do it every Monday morning. And so we used to start out grumpy every Monday morning. I was grumpy learning about all these problems, and the team was grumpy about how grumpy I was. And so we started instead with, how was your weekend? What are you watching on Netflix? What good books have you read? What wins did we have in key learnings for clients? And we start the week out incredibly positively. instead of with all the problems. And we wrap up with the problems that require more than one person to handle.
We do that every week, Jay. So yeah, our Monday morning meeting is 90% how was your weekend and 10% perfect client lifecycle. So we measure our perfect client lifecycle every week as a company, but the 90% of the time is how was your weekend? What'd you do? What's going on fun in your life? And that's the time for us to bond as a team, because like many companies these days, many people are remote. And it's very difficult to build relationships when you don't have the water cooler, right? So that remote environment, to be able to get to know one another, and just, there's no pressure to talk about all the crap that's going on in business. Every business has crap. I've been doing this a long time. The crap is never going to stop. The puppies are adorable, but everybody forgets there's a back end of the puppy, right? The puppy's crap, man. And so the reality is business is going to have crap to it. And you know, we're talking here, like the three of us are talking, that's great. But the reality is running a law firm, like running a business is hard. Running a law firm is flipping impossible sometimes. I mean, it is one of the most challenging businesses models there are, based on all of the opposing factors they have, whether it's opposing counsel, whether it's the bar association, whether it's the judge or the courts or the fill in the blank from the government issue that's up against them and breathing down their neck, or it's their clients and all of the major life dealing problems that they've got in the face of what they're doing. Extremely emotional and tear jerking, and you know, yeah, they do God's work, but their business is hard, and many of them are stuck in doing it themselves. And so to get that little bit of a break and to be able to just talk about what's going on in everybody's life and your team and have some fun is so important. I agree with you, Jay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to combine three questions. One of the questions I had for John, and a question came in from Josh and from Jennifer. So I'll try and combine it and make it make sense. So Josh said, how do I know when it's a good time to grow the law firm and hire more employees? And Jennifer said, as a law firm founder, I find it challenging to get the balance between business growth and law practice. What's the best approach to start to delegate work to employees? And then my question was, you talked about vision and value and the synchronicity there in your three pillars of business, that vision, value, and velocity all have to be in sync. And the point you made was that if you invest too much in the future, it can affect cash flow. And at times I've been guilty of hiring for the future, in marketing, investing for the future, buying technology or trade shows, you know, to grow. And it affects cash flow because you put $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 into either employees or marketing. And if you don't have the cash flow yet, you've got to wait for that, the sales to come around. So three-part question. When do you hire employees? What's the balance between growth and delegating, and how do you connect the dots between investment today and cash flow realities?
Yeah, really good question.
That's like a week-long presentation, right, John? That was no small. That's no small question, Jay.
I told you guys the questions are going to be tough.
All
There's
right.
no softballs.
It's not that it's tough. It's just that to answer those questions quickly. All right.
Yeah, well, the first thing we start is right at the beginning of our 9-step. Like, where do you want to be personally? What are your personal goals? Because there's many businesses, our businesses can just take over our lives, and we get caught up in this rat race, maybe especially the American way of, do more, hustle more, and this beast just grows and grows and grows and gets sucked in. When actually what we want to be able to do is go home at 5 o'clock and see our kids. We want to be able to go to the park or not work Saturdays. And it's important when we start to grow our business, what is the lifestyle that I want? And you may need a lot of money, you may not need a lot of money, but you could. A client of mine, he did some really good marketing online, and his business literally tripled within a year. And he was he's in his 30s. He became diabetic. He was stressed to the eyeballs. Never got to see his kids. He's actually the point where he's suicidal because his company just exploded without the team and the people and the systems inside it. So that was just got too big for him. And the sort of point I'm getting at is, first of all, what is that you want from your life? What does your business need to do to give you that? Now, let's assume they do want to grow. The second thing is about when do I employ more attorneys? I keep hearing, in order to grow my business, I need to hire more attorneys. Kind of yes, but kind of not yes. Because as I said, turnover is that vanity number. We want the sanity, which is the profit. And whilst we do a profit system that's within the 9 steps, P is profit and cash. That comes first before the R, which is revenue and marketing. Because if you've got an inefficient system that's just not producing the right amount of profit and the right amount of cash flow, and you go straight to marketing, you're just going to get busier and busier and more stressed. We look at getting the profit margins first, and then we get the cash flow working. And then we start looking at bringing all the stuff that Richard and yourself do, is to get the marketing right, so we get the right kind of leads, the right kind of business. And it's about planning it. This is the controlled velocity element. Which departments do I want to grow and when? What cash do I need in my bank so that I can then fund that growth? So it's all about having a good plan. Good questions. When do you bring someone in? Well, that goes into your plan. That's what I would say. When do you want to grow your business? By how much? By when? How much marketing do I need? How many leads do I want? What conversion rate do I want to bring in the revenue, to bring in the profit? That should plan your recruitment, and it should be part of your plan, so that the financial plan, the marketing plan, your operations plan are all coordinated. There's probably another question I forgot.
A great segue to my wrap up, and that is, John posted in the chat how to reserve a spot on his next full online workshop. So that's at https://summitbusiness.com/workshop. And I'm saying it slow and repeating it because obviously some folks will be on the recording and on the podcast and on the webinar and the YouTube. I'll also give Richard the opportunity. I guess let me find your.
I put it there for you, Jay.
Yeah, you put it. https. So it's a secure ://attorneyseminar.com. Attorney seminar, single attorney and single seminar, not plural. And so, guys, maybe each of you talk for a minute about these front end seminars and how someone goes about working with you, if they'd like to.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to go because I got to run. I've got another appointment that I've got to jump to. So I'll at the end of the day, we don't work with everybody. We're really picky with who we work with, and we only choose certain practice areas in certain geos, so we limit our scope. So you have to figure out if we're a right fit for one another. My grandmother says we got to date before we get married. So that seminar that I gave you really gives you a glimpse into what it is we do and how we do it, and what we pay attention to. And if it relates to you and you want to schedule a breakthrough call with us, we'll do that, and we'll investigate if we can find a way to improve your firm. If we can, and we think you're a right fit and you think we're a right fit, we'll start that conversation of how to take the next step. But I know already I'm not for everybody. I create much of my marketing as much to repel as I do to attract. In other words, I want to work with like-minded entrepreneurial attorneys who actually want to build systems in their law firm so they can have a firm that supports their lifestyle rather than undermines their lifestyle. Not every attorney wants to do that. Some attorneys just want more business, and that's fine. But I'm looking to help you build a better lifestyle. And so you come into our world because you're looking for the complete package. It sounds like John does a lot of similar things. And so if that webinar, their masterclass that I've put together for you, will give you a further glimpse and understanding of the 5 shifts you need to make to be able to start having this diagnostic of your firm and conversation with us.
Awesome job. Thank you so much. John, go for it. Talk to us about your seminar and how we work with you.
Cool, thank you. Very similar to Richard, I'm very specific about who we want to work with and who we work with best. So the way I like to give out lots of good information that everybody can go and utilize it. Take that one golden nugget, I think is what Richard said earlier, and take it and use it. So the seminars are great. I limit them to like 10 to 12 people maximum because it's very, very interactive. I ran through that at 250 miles an hour. We slow it right down. It's still punchy, but we go through it at a much slower pace with a bit more as well. And as I go through it, I really work with the client or the people on the webinar to start scoring their business so they can really get some focus of where to work next. After that, we do offer them an opportunity to have a one-to-one strategy session, and that's just recapping what they've gone through, and just help them get absolute clarity on what they need to do next. And then, as Richard said, if it feels like it's a good fit, if they want to go in a certain direction, if it matches with what I can do, we can have a look at the variety of products, services that we offer, and see if there's a synergy going forward. But we always look at I'm sure Richard does as well, and yourself, return on investment, because they sure as hell will be working more profit but they start working with us. But it's a lot of fun. I call them my team, my military background, sports background before I went into business. So yeah, people I work with are on my team, and it's a great place to be working, and there's some cool people to work with. You've gone quiet again, Jay.
Oh, I keep muting. Thanks. Thank you both so much. This content was fantastic. I took a million notes, because I'm a professional services firm too, so I love this stuff. And Maria put my Calendly link, so if you'd like to book a consulting meeting with me, calendly.com, j-10goldenrules/strategy-session, or just go to 10goldenrules.com. And John, I'm going to sign up for your next session if I'm allowed. And I look forward to spending some more time and learning more from you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and let's catch up again soon. And thank you again, Jay. It's been a great fun meeting Richard, and I'll catch up with him too. It's really cool. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks everyone for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.